This is lesson number 5 from Metal Tech. We are continuing with the sheet metal chapter. It's chapter 12, pages 186 to 199 now out of the Modern Metalworking textbook. In this chapter, we're going to talk about some of the forming tools that we're going to use to actually bend the sheet metal into the shapes that we want. Always remember that if you need to pause the video, you can do that to make sure you get all of your essential or your key terms down, your descriptors, answer your essential questions, and of course make sure you draw your images. First key term that we're going to talk about is something called metal stakes. This picture up here on the top right is an example of a metal forming stake. We will also call these forming stakes, metal stakes. Both terms are used interchangeably. The way this works is you'll take a piece of metal, you'll set it on this forming stake, and you'll apply pressure. You're going to apply pressure typically using one of these mallets. So whatever shape this is, that's what shape the metal will take. So if this is rounded, which this one is, you would want to make a round shape for something, and maybe it's a funnel, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. If you wanted it to be round, you would use this side. There are a lot of different shapes that we have in our classroom. We primarily will be using the forming stakes that are just flat and have 90-degree angles. A setting down hammer or mallet is what we're going to use to apply the pressure. Mallets get their names from their heads. So this one is a rubber mallet. I know that because this is a piece of rubber. You can either have a rawhide mallet, a plastic mallet. You can actually have a brass mallet. Again, the only thing that classifies what a mallet is the head. A mallet is a hammer with soft heads. A machine that is used to bend sheet metal to form edges and prepare the metal for a wired edge is something called a bar folder. When you have a bar folder, what you would have is the operator would be standing on this side. Your project would go in over here, and you would actually pull this handle back towards you. So as you're pulling the handle back towards you, it's just a little bit different than some of the other machines that we have. The bar folder will also do seams. We actually do not have a bar folder in our classroom. We have a couple other machines that we use to substitute for the bar folder. One of those machines that we have to substitute is something called a cornice brake. The cornice brake is unique because it will bend metal at any distance from an edge. So you would put your project in here, and because there's no backing on this, you could have pieces that are many feet in length that you can bend. So on this machine, it's a little bit different than some of these other machines because you would typically make big long bends on the cornice brake. One of the most common forming tools is a box and pan brake. It gets its name because you can make boxes, pans, or trays out of one piece of metal. The reason you can do that on a box and pan brake is because you have these little adjustable blocks here. These adjustable blocks are removable. They will have a number on them, and that number is going to correspond to the size they are in inches. So if it's got a number 4 on it, it means it's a 4-inch block. If it's got a 6 on it, it's a 6-inch block. If it's got a 3/4 on it, it means it's a 3/4-inch block, so on and so forth. So the way that it's going to work is when you need to make a box, a pan, or tray out of one piece of metal, there's going to be certain spots that you don't want metal to bend. So these things would have to be removed and pulled out. If you needed to make something round, like a stovepipe or a cylinder or a funnel, even for that matter, you would use something called a slip roll forming machine. The way a slip roll forming machine works is your metal will go in the front here, and as you crank this knob, as you kind of spin this knob around, it's going to grab that metal and it's going to put it through a series of, there's actually 3 rollers here. There's one behind these top 2 that you can't see. But what it'll do is as you turn it, it'll pull your metal in, and it'll cause it to kind of come back out and start wrapping back out towards you. So you can make a round shape on a slip roll forming machine out of a piece of sheet metal. The essential questions for lesson 5: what objects have you seen that were made of sheet metal? So we've talked about quite a few of them in class. List a few of those. So we described lockers, buses, safety cabinets, air conditioning vents, appliances, etc. So think about all the things in your house that are made out of sheet metal. your dishwasher, your washer and dryer, your refrigerator, your stove, your microwave, again, air conditioning vents, so on and so forth. There's a lot of stuff that's made out of sheet metal that we may not have even thought about before we did this lesson. So what types of developments were used to make those objects? So in lesson 4 we talked about 2 or 3 actually types of line developments. We talked about radial line developments and parallel line developments. Those are the 2 main line developments. And then we also talked about something called triangulation. The last and most important part of lesson number 5 is this question here. Why would you need special machine tools to bend the metal into shapes that you would like? The main thing for this class is safety. So we want to always make sure that we're really good and safe. But these machines are also going to make it faster, they'll make it easier, and they'll also make it more precise. That's going to do it for lesson number 5. If you have any questions, as always, make sure you stop by and ask me. Don't forget the workbook assignment for lesson 5 as well.